Well, good morning, everybody, or good evening if you're watching this. This is For Your Health, a presentation of medical pharmacy. And with us today, Alyson Schwartz. And Alyson, everybody has headaches.
This is true.
Is there a difference between a headache and a migraine headache?
Yes, there is. I actually know a few people that say they've never, ever had a headache, and that's great. But most of you, you get a headache, and maybe it's, just you feel like somebody's squeezing your head. Maybe you feel like somebody's tapping on it with an ice pick, and it could be mild and not bother you, or it could really, really distract you. But a migraine can be disabling. Some migraines can make you nauseous and vomit. Some of them you get light auras. Some of them have even been known to cause like a stroke-like or paralysis type symptoms where you really can't move. And so there are people that want to be in the bed, in the dark, with cold something. Don't talk to me. Don't bother me. So they can be very disabling.
What is a light aura?
A light aura, yeah.
Visionary
yes,
effect of it?
Right. And so that's why people want to turn those lights off, is everything seems to be amplified. So you have this kind of halo-y type. Now, I've never had one, so I'm kind of going with what people, knock on wood, I've never had a migraine, but I hear that's what people say is there's like this kind of halo-ish thing coming from the outside that you see that really disturbs you. So I have a girl that I work with that she does a lot of stuff back in our lab, and if she'll get migraines every now and then, and she'll turn the lights off in the lab to work. Because we can never get her to go home and just lay down. So she's good that way, but she wants the lights off and for it to be quiet.
Now let's make sure we know that this is not the kind of headache that I gave myself the other day when I was leaning under a counter to pick up some trash, and when I raised up and the back of my head hit the counter, that was a headache, but that was self-induced, and it went away.
Those trauma headaches, they'll go away after that little pounding from that in direct impact goes away. Yeah, those will definitely go away. So migraines actually affect about 10 million Americans.
Which is about 1 in 30.
I think so. Right. I think so. Yeah.
40.
And what's interesting is it costs our healthcare system anywhere between $13 and $17 billion a year. Billion.
Okay.
That's a lot of money. And interesting for all of you employers out there, it can cost you about $14.5 billion a year on average, and they say $7.9 billion a year is for people being absent from a migraine, and $5.4 billion is because they're trying to work with their migraine and they really are not productive. So you have absenteeism and lost productivity, totaling about $14.5 billion a year. So you got to wonder, how can we keep people from getting headaches? And, conventionally, the way we treat or try to prevent them are through our old school medicines, calcium channel blockers, beta blockers, which are really for blood pressure, but it have been seen by how they work to lower the risk of migraines. A lot of people on anti-seizure medications or certain antidepressants. A lot of them don't work real well, but they have a pretty good list of side effects. There are some doctors that will inject your neck with Botox. Okay, now Botox paralyzes your muscles. So, if it's from those tense muscles, then they try to go to this form of, let's just paralyze those muscles so you don't feel them, so you don't get a headache. That's a pretty drastic measure, I think. I could see if you're really disabling that maybe, but that's a big step for something that, probably has an underlying issue. Some of the medicines you use have narcotics in them. Some have butalbital, so they can be habit forming. So then not only do you have migraines, but then you have a possible addiction problem on top of that. And then the last class of drugs that you use once you have that headache are the triptans. So Imitrex, Maxalt, Axert. I'm sure I'm forgetting one. And most of them have generics now. They used to be very, very expensive. The generics are pretty inexpensive. But if you thought the first list of medicines had a good list of side effects, the triptans are far and away have a huge side effect risk profile. And some people they work, and some people they say it just takes that edge off. But stroke and heart attacks are pretty good risks of those class of medications because of the way they work on the vasculature of your blood vessels. So they do have a big risk. So the one thing is you have to understand is migraine is a symptom. You get a headache, but why did you get the headache in the first place? And so the key to taking care of a migraine efficiently is finding out why do you get them in the first place. So there's probably more, but 5 main causes of migraine headaches. Now people need to keep in mind that maybe you have one of these causes, maybe you have two, maybe you have a little bit of all five. So, if one of these things, if you try just one of these five and it doesn't quite fix you, then go to the next one. And so you may need to kind of look at, is it a combination of one of these five things that's the reason you're getting headaches? So the first one that we see a lot anymore are food allergies and then gut and bowel imbalances. So if you feel tired, fatigued, if you feel like you're in a brain fog most of the day, maybe you have irritable bowel syndrome, maybe you have joint pain, muscle pain, maybe you have really bad allergies, so you're congested, you have postnasal drip, those are signs that you have some kind of imbalance in your intestinal tract.
Most people wouldn't relate something in the intestinal tract with something that hurts you right here.
Exactly.
In your head is what I'm pointing at.
Right. And it's interesting that, so many things start in your digestive tract and we don't think about it, but it all kind of rolls in together. If you really start to kind of create a map of all your symptoms, you'll start to see where it all kind of will lead down to one or two underlying issues, and fix that underlying issue and you should feel a lot better. So how are you going to treat a gut imbalance? I've talked before about the use of probiotics and the use of digestive enzymes. But if it's a food allergy, we want to try a food elimination diet. The biggest reasons of food allergy are gluten, which is wheat products, dairy, eggs. Maybe you have yeast in your intestinal tract. And we see that a lot, actually, because of the overuse of antibiotics, not only with people taking antibiotics, but with antibiotics in your food and water supply. You destroy your good bacteria. The other problem with the good bacteria in your intestinal tract is what people preach, that we eat too much fat, which is not true, by the way. And so everybody wants you to eat a low-fat diet. And so when you eat a low-fat diet, your alternative is to eat a high-carbohydrate diet. Well, carbohydrates are sugar, and they feed the bad bacteria in your intestinal tract, and they take over. So you really got to look at what you're eating. But cut out the wheat, the gluten, and the dairy products for sure to start with, and just see. And usually if you do that within a week, you will notice that you will feel a lot better. And then I've even had people that say, well, I'll try to cut out gluten and I don't notice anything until they go back on the gluten, and then they feel awful. And they're like, you don't realize how bad you felt until you go back on it. And then one of the last foods that can really be a big issue because of how we've genetically altered it is corn. We think of corn as a vegetable and it should be good for us, but because we've genetically altered almost every bit of corn that's in this country, it causes a lot of inflammation and allergies. And so, gluten, dairy, maybe eggs. If you're going to eat eggs, I would never want to give up eggs. I love them. Try to get some farm fresh, no hormone, fresh eggs. Those are the best for you, but get rid of the corn.
And when you say corn, a lot of stuff's made from corn. So
it is
corn, and it's also the products that are made from corn.
A lot of vitamins are made from corn byproducts. Vitamin C specifically is usually made with corn. So you'll have people that say, well, I can't take vitamin C. It upsets my stomach. It irritates me. I can't take it. Well, it's probably made in a corn base. So we do have the vitamin C at Medica that is not made with corn. Integrative Therapeutics is very good about their supplements are not made with dairy, with gluten, with corn byproducts in them. So if you have sensitivities to any of those and you're not sure about a vitamin or supplement, Integrative Therapeutic supplements do not have those products in them. So you can definitely take those. So, you want to get that digestive tract healthy. Use your digestive enzymes. Use some good probiotics. And some omega-3 fatty acids. Interesting enough, just had a study about fish oil. Maybe it increases the risk of, I think, a heart attack or a stroke, but these people were on other supplements and they weren't using who knows what kind of omega-3 fatty acid. So the study, I think, is skewed. It tells you to use more omega-6s, which causes more inflammation. So we actually have some insights. If you've seen that study about fish oil maybe being bad for you, if you want to stop by Medica, I have some information about how that study was flawed, which a lot of them are. But a good omega fish oil will actually decrease the inflammation in your intestinal tract. So that's something you want to think about.
That's one of them.
That's one. Number two is a chemical trigger. Now, we're bombarded with chemicals, and when I think chemicals, you think of processed foods that have artificial sweeteners, artificial colors. Some of them have MSG in them. If you eat a lot of lunch meat, you're getting a lot of nitrates. If you drink a lot of drink a lot of wine, eat a lot of dried fruit, or if you go to a salad bar at a restaurant a lot, those foods are high in sulfites. And then you have the tyramine containing foods like chocolate and some of your aged cheeses. All of those can trigger a headache. Now, it may not be all of them. It might be one of them. I know lots of people that say, I can't drink red wine. It gives me a migraine. Well, and that's because of the sulfites in those red wines. So you want to make sure you get rid of those additives, those artificial sweeteners. Aspartame is what's in equal. So if you're out and you reach for the little blue packet on your table, that's aspartame. And it has been linked to lots and lots of issues. So get rid of that equal or generic equivalent of it. Get rid of it. Try to stay away from processed food. And I have a couple of friends of mine on Facebook that love to give me a hard time about my no processed food. But there's so much additives in there that, that could be why you're having those headaches. So try to eat whole foods, foods that are really high in your phytonutrients, which is your vegetables, especially your colored vegetables.
Green being the best color?
All of them being the best color.
Okay.
So greens, orange, reds, purples. I'm not a big potato person, but I got purple potatoes from Whole Foods, and they had a little bit different flavor. They tasted like a potato. It was a little bit different. And I can't say a purple potato is any better for you than a white potato. I can say sweet potatoes are supposed to be better than a white potato. But yeah, just, lots of vegetables high in your colors. And people always ask about fruits. And although fruits are good for you, they're very high in sugar. And so you really want to limit on what fruits you're eating. So you don't want to go eat an all fruit diet. You're going to overwork your pancreas and you're not going to be giving yourself the essential fats that your body needs. So, 7 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables is 1 or 2 servings of fruit, 7 servings of vegetables, and get the biggest variety that you can. The more color on your plate, the better off you are.
Those beets are really pretty and purple.
They are, and beets are good. I used to think they tasted like dirt, and they are earthy. Okay, but I do like them now. I like them pickled. I like them just cooked and sautéed and eaten that way. So, the more you eat foods, the more you find out that you like things you didn't think you liked. The next one, which we see a lot of, and a lot of women will be interested in this, is maybe you have some of these other things, but hormone imbalances. And hormone imbalances do not mean you have to be menopausal or premenopausal. You could be 13 years old and have a hormonal imbalance. We're bombarded with all kinds of chemicals that alter our production of hormones. And when I talked about sunscreens last time, we learned that there's some sunscreens out there that change your hormone levels. And so if you get really bad PMS symptoms and you bloat and you have fluid retention and you get different cravings around your cycles, you're irritable, maybe you have breast tenderness, cramps, or if you're using birth control pills or any kind of hormone replacement therapy, that can maybe mean that you have an imbalance somewhere. Maybe you have too much estrogen and not enough progesterone. A lot of women don't realize that the only way you get progesterone is when you ovulate. And so when that egg is released out of your ovary, the little sac that's left behind produces progesterone so that if you get pregnant, it maintains a pregnancy. Well, as you get older, you make less and less progesterone, and then eventually we all know we quit making eggs, and then you have no source of progesterone, but every fat cell of your body makes estrogen. So you may have that imbalance. So don't just go out there willy-nilly and say, I need progesterone or I need this hormone. Get your levels tested. And if you're going to get it on blood work, there's only a few that it tests. So make sure you're getting all your hormones that you can tested. There's 6 different hormones that we test for in saliva testing. So try to get as good a panel that you can. You can do saliva testing pretty much at any point. So call us and ask us about that. But it's important to know that what you eat changes your hormone levels as well. So you want to eat low sugar foods. Again, lots of vegetables. You can eat flax, but don't use the oil. Use ground flax. Add that to a protein shake or add it to something that you're making, some kind of vegetable mix, fruit mix. And then if you're going to do soybeans, they are really good for you if you eat the beans, but don't use soybean oil. Don't use any of those processed things from soybeans because that creates a lot of inflammation. So you don't want to do that. And too much soy products can increase your estrogen. A little bit is good, a lot is not. So be cautious on that. But all of your cruciferous vegetables, which is your broccoli, cauliflower, garlic, onions, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, those all help you metabolize your hormones correctly.
Oh,
and so
thought you were heading that they were bad.
No, they're wonderful. They're wonderful. And it's funny. I've had people go, well, how do you cook cauliflower? And somebody told me I should just have a once a week recipe that we put out here because I do cook a lot. But you can take cauliflower and toss it with some olive oil and mix it with whatever seasonings you want. I tend to use some spicy seasonings and then put some Parmesan cheese on it and roast it in the oven at 400 until it starts to get a little bit brown. And it is delicious.
That's our cooking segment.
That's our cooking. There's your cooking segment. Any more recipes, just come see me at the pharmacy. I'm full of, I just made some homemade coconut macadamia bars that were quite good and had no additives. So they're very good for you. So the other thing is there's an herb called Endoplex, which is kind of like eating broccoli and cabbage without you having to do it. So if you're not a big fan of those vegetables, you can take Endoplex, which forces those bad estrogens out of your system and gets everything metabolized correctly.
You don't find that at the grocery store. You find that at
That
the
one we have at
pharmacy.
Medica, yes.
Oh, okay.
We have Endoplex at Medica. You'll also see, some people will see something called diindolmethane, which is known as DIM for short. Endoplex is the active form of that. So I have women that come in, they know about it, they've read about it, they know what it is. So that's the same type of thing. You can use magnesium and B6. You want to stay away from alcohol, caffeine, sugar, processed carbohydrates, and then exercise and do stress reduction techniques. This will all help your hormones. It's more, hormone balance is more than just hormones. You got to eat right, exercise, get your sleep, and manage your stress. So that's number 3. The fourth one is a big one, and we see this in about 60% of the population, is that they're magnesium deficient. Now, magnesium makes your muscles relax, and anytime you take calcium, it makes your muscles contract. Well, if you watch the TV or go to the grocery store, you'll know that most of your processed foods are fortified with calcium because we want strong bones. Well, that all makes you magnesium deficient. You get magnesium from dark grains. Quinoas is one of the things. Any of the wheats that are dark that still have the wheat germ on them. So that's where you get your magnesium. Well, we don't need a diet very high in that. And so it's hard to find. So if you have muscle cramps, if you feel tight or tense, if you're constipated, if you don't sleep well, if you're anxious, maybe you're irritable, sensitive to loud noises, or you have like muscle twitching or palpitations, those are all signs of a magnesium deficiency. And a lot of times you test magnesium in the blood and it looks like it's normal. So we always tell people you dose your magnesium based on your symptoms. But please do not. You can find magnesium everywhere, and I have a lot of people say, I just bought some generic magnesium at one of the stores. If it says magnesium oxide, OXIDE, do not buy it. It is not absorbed. It will not help you. It will only increase the levels circulating in your blood. It doesn't get absorbed into your tissues, so it really does not work. So you want to make sure that you get a magnesium citrate, aspartate, glutarate, so something that's chelated and ready. So we recommend something called Krebs magnesium. But yeah, we have a lot of times see those red blood cell levels are normal, so don't go on that. But if you have any kind of kidney disease, do not start magnesium before you talk to your doctor about it. But it's something that can make a big difference in just overall muscle relaxation, sleep, and the headaches.
And I think we talked one time, I asked you, how would you know if you took too much magnesium? And I think you, if I remember right, you graphically told me your body will let you know. And
yes, you'll get typically if you get too much, you'll have diarrhea.
Yeah.
I mean, magnesium is a natural stool softener. So you have migraine headaches and you're not having a bowel movement every day, or you stay a little bit constipated, then you definitely need to go with some magnesium to start. But you dose it based on, you should have no more than 2 bowel movements every day. So if you're having 3 or 4 bowel movements, or you're having really loose bowel movements, then you back that magnesium dose down. But the average adult can take 500 to 750 milligrams of the Krebs magnesium every day with no problem. And I have some women that take, a little bit more, and I have a couple that take a little bit less. So, but we dose it on your symptoms and go from there. And we've had some pretty good luck with it, really decreasing those migraine headaches, and especially with the muscle cramps and the constipation can make a big difference. If you have restless leg syndrome, definitely check some magnesium out.
And when you say Krebs, I believe that's...
Yeah, that's just the name of it. Krebs is, when you make energy in your body, you make it in the Krebs cycle. So this magnesium is basically formulated down to where it's the active form to where your body can use it. So that's why they call it Krebs magnesium.
That's what I have. So
yeah. So the last one is a mitochondrial imbalance. Well, you make energy in the mitochondria of your body to keep your muscles from being sore, to keep your energy level up. Well, there's lots of things that can decrease that. So if you're tired, muscle aches, again, brain fog, and those kind of relate to the food allergy. So you can see where there might be, maybe do I have a food allergy, or do I have a mitochondrial imbalance? Sometimes you don't have any of those, you just have migraines. And if nothing of this other stuff fixes you, maybe it's in the mitochondrial and you're just not making what you need to make, in the darn little bitty cells of your body are just not making what they need to make. So the one thing you can do with this is you can actually check your urinary organic acid. So that would be a request from your doctor. I don't know how often they do that. I know I have never had it done in all the times I've ever been to see a doctor. So that if you have a lot of headaches, you might want to have them check that, because that can help them find out, do you have some imbalance in your mitochondrial? The other thing that you can take, if you're not sure, is you can take vitamin B2, which is riboflavin. That is important for the mitochondrial process. You want to take about 400 milligrams a day. And then you can take coenzyme Q10. So anybody who's on a statin for their cholesterol, or if you're on a beta blocker for your blood pressure, and sometimes if you're on an ACE inhibitor, all those things that end in pril, lisinopril, and enalapril. Those can all decrease your levels of coenzyme Q10. And so maybe you don't have migraines, but maybe you have muscle cramps, you get Charlie horses, you're tired. Those are all a sign of that low coenzyme Q10. And coenzyme Q10, it won't hurt you to try it. It's a very, very safe, actually, both of those, the B2 and the coenzyme Q10, both very, very safe to try. So, I always tell people, if you're unsure, start with some magnesium and B2 for sure, the riboflavin. If those don't help your migraine headaches, then we'll go to the next step, because those are the easiest things to try and the safest things to try. So those are the things that might help find that source of why you're getting those migraines to begin with.
When we started out, you gave a fraction or a number, and I made it into a fraction. Women more likely to suffer from migraines than men? Because a couple of things mentioned, we talked in hormone imbalance, we talked exclusively about women.
Right. We do see, and I didn't see a stat versus men versus women when I was looking at this, but I just know from what we see at our pharmacy that we do have a lot more women on migraine medications than we do men. I mean, far and away. Men have hormone imbalances as well, but they're just not as pronounced as they are with women. So men get migraines too, but yeah, it seems to be that women get it more often. And, you have to think, if you take 2 or 3 of these things and combine them, because we have so many women that have irritable bowel syndrome and that have constipation, and then the chance of you having a hormone imbalance in your life, if you're a woman, is pretty darn good. At some point, your body's going to shift what it's making. If you're overweight, if you're eating the wrong foods, if you're stressed, those are all going to change it. And I think everybody has stress in their life, as far as I would think. So a lot of these things, you come out all 5 of these things, and I would think, sure, you'll get some headaches.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great list. You've got those available for somebody if they want at Medica Pharmacy. And of course, this show will be posted on your website, medicapharmacy.net.
Yes.
And in the very near future, though. So maybe wants a reminder or a recap of it. So what's going on at Medica Pharmacy?
Well, it's finally gotten hot. It's finally summertime. So now that it's July. Who thought we'd wait until July to get into the mid-90s? Yeah. It's been great. I don't remember a July that has been this green. But do remember that when it's hot outside, take care of yourself in the heat, but take care of your pets too. Get them out of the sun. Make sure they have shade or shelter. If it's really hot, give them a fan. And it's not gotten that hot yet, but I think it's supposed to get today, tomorrow, pretty warm with the humidity. So make sure you've got plenty of water, fresh water for your animals. Stay cool. If you don't have air conditioning, at least go find somewhere with a fan or a breeze that could blow on you. So stay hydrated in the heat. But nothing real new is going on right now that I know of.
Okay. Coming up on another anniversary. I don't know,
we
32 or
33. 33. Yep, 30.
Okay.
Had to think about. I had to do the math in my head.
Yeah.
So 33 years. Yep, that'll be in September. And then I know at the end of September is the Flagey Hospital's Health Fair. We'll be a part of that this year. So that's all that's going on. Just trying to stay busy and take care of people one at a time.
And remember, there is a card available for customers to earn discounts. I received one in the mail the other day. Hadn't even thought about it. And all of a sudden, I receive one of my benefits of being a Medica Pharmacy customer, and it's so good when you're not expecting it to get a benefit like that.
Yeah, you get a nice coupon in the mail for anything over the counter. I think it's usually $10. There might be some $20 ones out there, but I know you usually get them in $10 increments. So so make sure if you're not a VIP member, make sure you ask about it. They're pretty good about making sure you have one, but times we get busy and they forget to ask you. So if you don't have a VIP card at Medica, make sure you ask for when you come in.
Alyson, thank you very much. And again, a very informative program for many people who truly suffer from migraine headaches and just can't figure out what's the cause and how to
Oh yeah, I've never had one. I've had a really bad headache before, maybe twice in my life, and I keep thinking, well, I don't even want to know what people with migraines go through, because I just can't even. I mean, a really bad headache's bad enough, so something that just disables you like that. So if one of these things can take away, at least minimize them. I mean, some people have migraines maybe once a year. Some people have 3 or 4 a week. So if you can kind of take those away and minimize not only the frequency of them, but the severity of them, to where you can still function when you get one, I mean, that would be great. Just if they take that $17 billion a year and let's try to cut it in half.
That's our show today for your health presentation of Medica Pharmacy, heard twice each month and seen twice each month here on WBRT Radio. I'm Ron Stratton, and thanks to Alyson Schwartz from Medica Pharmacy for the show. Thank you.
Thank you.